لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. واشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد ان محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى اله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اما بعد فان خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الامور محدثاتها وكل محدثه بدعه وكل بدعه ضلاله وكل ضلاله في النار. Certainly all praises are for Allah the Mighty and the Most High. And certainly we as Muslims, as believers, as observant servants, slaves of the Creator, we do just that. We praise Him. We ask for His help. We ask for Him to forgive us and to pardon us and to allow our scale of good deeds to be heavier than our scale of bad deeds. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to allow our beauty to remain triumphant and not to be marred and scarred by our spiritual ugliness. The bad deeds that we do, we ask Allah to make our hasanat heavier than our sayyiat. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla for us to be recognized and called up to and acknowledged through our good characteristics, our good traits and our good names, and not of our bad characteristics, and our bad names and our bad traits. Because there are those from amongst us who have a mixture of good and bad. And there's some of us, alhamdulillah, the good outweighs the bad. The good outweighs the bad. It is the dominant factor. And there are those from amongst us in which the bad outweighs the good. And which whenever someone sees you, or hears of you, or thinks of you, they only think about that which is bad and that which is negative. In other words, the evil, the vice, has trumped, has triumphant, has become heavier than the good. And that which you're known by. They know you as this and that. That's what they associate you with. Because every pious person and every righteous person, every Muslim has some type of flaw, has some type of fault, has some type of mistake, has some type of negligence or carelessness, has a time in which your lust overcome you. But that's at a minimum. That's at a minimum. Versus the opposite in which the evil, the ghafla, the i'rad, the shahwa, the lust, the carelessness is dominant. And which the people call you, that's such and such who does such and such a thing. And they recognize you, and they think of you in that negative light. And this is in the worldly life. So what do you think about the shame and the disgrace of the hereafter? On the day of judgment, what will you be called? How will you be recognized? And what and with who and whom will you be associated? With the righteous? Will you be called by a righteous name, a righteous title, a righteous characteristic, or the opposite? So there's always a struggle. There's always a match, a wrestling match going on inside of you all of the time. And you have to ask yourself what's dominant. It's very hard to have a perfect record. It's difficult to have a perfect record, undefeated, no losses. But are your losses more than your victories? And how did you win and how did you lose? Did you lose fighting? Did you lose scratching and clawing to the last second? Or did you lose giving up and quitting? And there's a difference in how you lose. You lost in the last quarter of the game, the last round, a split decision. It was tough. Versus you were knocked out in the first round, second round, third round. You quit, you threw in the towel, you gave up. They don't look the same on your record. So we have the number of losses versus the number of victories. Which one is greater and higher? Good deeds, bad deeds. Good times or bad times. Positivity or negativity. Beauty or nastiness. And then we have the amounts of losses and the amounts of sins. What type of sins are they? How often did you make them? How recurrent are they? The lapse and the interval between you breaking down and relapsing is only a week, only a day, only a month. Versus I stayed away from this sin for a year, then I fell back into it. I was good for 5 years, then I fell back into it. Versus I keep doing it every single day. It doesn't look the same. So we have to ask ourselves which of the two is going to win. Which of the two is going to be dominant? Which of the two? The good or the bad? The positivity or the negativity? Brother Fulan, he's a righteous brother. Make dua for me. I just had a son. Make dua for my little daughter. Come to my walima, do my aqiqah. Because you believe that that person is righteous. But that righteous man and that righteous sister has sins. Is a human being. They have mistakes. Their family members know things about them that you don't. But you still consider that person to be what? Righteous. And that's for one reason and one reason only. And that is that person's righteousness is more than the evil. And it's not just by close margin, but it is totally dominant. In which the hasanat, the good, the positivity, is far more than the negativity that you may not see, but it is there. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla for this. We ask Him for forgiveness. And from Allah's forgiveness is not just doing away with the sin. It's not just the sin being forgiven, but mahwu athar al-dhanb is the trace of the sin being erased. It's no longer there. It's gone. It's been effaced. It does not exist anymore. Because you may have a sin, but you're still scarred by that sin. You're still recognized by that sin. There's still some type of responsibility of that sin. Versus the sin is now gone. It's gone. And this is all from the meanings and the secrets of maghfirah. Forgiveness of Allah. And then the top of that is rahmah. Mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the forgiveness is for the past. The sin being forgiven. The trace of the sin being wiped away. And according to many scholars of Islam, they say that the bad deed does not exist in your scale anymore. It's gone. It's been deleted. 100%. And the rahmah, the mercy of Allah, is for you not to go back to it in the future. It's for you to be prevented and protected from relapses in the future. So this is what we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for on a daily basis. Rather on an hourly basis. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla this by the minute. We need to be conscious and mindful of this more than the breath that we breathe, more than the air that we breathe, the breath that we take. Asking Allah for His forgiveness and for His mercy and for us to die in a good state and for us to be resurrected in a good state and for the last of our deeds to be done in a good state and for our deeds to be means of positivity and the means of light in the grave, as the Prophet ﷺ tells us, إِنَّ هَذِهِ الْقُبُورَ مَمْلُوءَةٌ ظُلْمَةً عَلَى أَهْلِهَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُنَوِّرُهَا لَهُمْ بِالصَّلَاةِ عَلَيْهِمْ أو كما قال. He said these graves are full of darkness. There's no light in these graves. مَمْلُوءَةٌ ظُلْمَةً عَلَى أَهْلِهَا, full of darkness. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He illuminates these graves. He makes them bright and brilliant because of my prayers for the deceased Muslims. So be mindful of how you die. And be mindful of what's going to happen in your grave. And be mindful of how you're going to be resurrected. Be mindful of what the people know you by and with. Fulan, such and such. Oh yeah, he's such and such. Good or bad. Be mindful of these things. And death isn't the ultimate disgrace. Death isn't the greatest loss. Dying isn't the greatest loss. It's not the end of the world. But the worst loss, the greatest loss, and the end of the Muslims' world is to die in a bad state. Disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Being heedless. The worst thing for the Muslim is to be resurrected in a bad state. It's for the Muslim to be in his or her grave in a bad state. And on the day of judgment, you're being recognized in negative, bad way. Negative and bad way. Which banner will you stand under? Which ummah will you belong to? Who will intercede for you? Or who will curse you on the day of judgment? Who's going to curse you? Will you be embarrassed on that day? Will you be humiliated on that day? And who will you pay your good deeds to on that day? That's another serious question. The person that you hit, the person that you slandered, the person that you stole, the person that you wronged and you oppressed. You think that the day of judgment is just a simple, easy day. Allah will forgive me and then that's it. Many of us would say, I'll get mine on Yawm al-Qiyamah. I'll get mine on the day of judgment. Who said that? Who said that you're just going to just walk and just go free? Because you've oppressed many people throughout your life. You've wronged many human beings throughout your life. And on that day, they are going to want what you owe them. And it's not a smack back. It's not a punch back. It's not a gunshot back. It's not a bag of money back. But it's nothing more than good deeds and bad deeds. That is the currency of Yawm al-Qiyamah. The currency of the day of judgment is not dollar bills or euros or francs. It's only one currency that is accepted. And that is the currency of hasanat and sayyat. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in so many verses, فَمَنْ ثَقَلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ, he whose scale is heavy, then they will be the successful people. وَمَنْ خَفَّتْ, and he whose scale is light, then they will be the losers. And they will lose themselves, and they will lose their families, and they will dwell in the fire of hell forever. أَمَّا بَعْدْ. Today's khutbah bi'idhnillahi ta'ala is going to be surrounding a hadith that's mentioned from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There's a hadith that's been collected by Imam Ahmed and Al-Hakim and others, narrated by Ubadah ibn al-Samit radiyallahu ta'ala anhu arda. And he says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in this hadith, فِيمَا وَرَدَ عَنِ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ فِيمَا جَاءَ عَنْهُ, that the Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam addressed the companions by saying, إِذْمَنُوا لِي سِتًّا مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَضْمَنْ لَكُمُ الْجَنَّةِ أُصْدُقُوا إِذَا حَدَّثْتُمْ وَأَوْفُوا إِذَا وَعَدْتُمْ وَأَدُّوا إِذَا اؤْتُمِنْتُمْ وَاحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَكُمْ وَغُضُّوا أَبْصَارَكُمْ وَكُفُّوا أَيْدِيَكُمْ أَوْ كَمَا جَاءَ. The Messenger of Allah alayhi wasallam, he told the companions, promise me, guarantee me, give me your word. Give me your word. Tell me that you will keep and uphold the following 6 things. And if you do so verbally, and if you believe in that spiritually, you know this mentally, and most importantly, you act upon it physically, أَضْمَنْ لَكُمُ الْجَنَّةِ, I, the Messenger of Allah, will promise paradise for you. I, the Messenger of Allah, the Apostle of Allah, I will ask Allah, I will beg Allah, I will implore Allah to give you Jannah. If you can just give me 6 things. The Prophet ﷺ says, give me an insurance plan, give me a warranty, give me a guarantee, give me your word, and I will give you mine. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ is quoted to have said, أُصْدُقُوا إِذَا حَدَثْتُمْ. Number 1, he says, when you speak, then speak the truth. وَأَوْفُوا إِذَا وَعَدْتُمْ. Number 2, when you make a promise, then keep that promise. Number 3, وَأَدُّوا إِذَا اؤْتُمِنْتُمْ. And when you're put as a guardian, when you're made as a trustee, when someone gives you a secret, a possession, when you're to look away, when you're to take care of something, when an amana is placed on you, then make sure you fulfill that amana. Number 4, the Messenger of Allah, he says, وَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَكُمْ. He says, and protect your private parts. Guard your chastity. Guard your sacred naked areas. Guard your shame. Number 5, وَغُضُّوا أَبْصَارَكُمْ. And lower your gaze. Don't look at everything, but lower your gaze. Last but not least, the hadith says, وَكُفُّوا أَيْدِيَكُمْ. And hold your hands back. Keep your hands low. Keep your hands at your side. Refrain from using your hands. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us to beautiful character and to guide us to the proper Islamic morality. Allahumma hdina li ahsan al-akhlaq la yahdi ilayya illa ant wasrifha anna la yasrifu anna illa ant. الحمد لله وكفى وصلاة الله وسلامه على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. So you go to the store, a department store. You go to a store that sells things such as appliances, such as electronics and devices. You have 2 phones, you have 2 refrigerators, you have 2 automobiles, 2 vehicles, you have 2 watches. Whatever you're buying, whatever you're wishing to purchase, they're of similar price, they're of similar make. The models are similar. The features are similar. Pretty much exact, rather. There's Samsung, and then there's Apple. There's iOS, and then there's Android. You have a BMW, you have a Mercedes-Benz. They're similar. Similar make, similar models, similar features, similar benefits, similar prices. It's an issue of taste. This one has this color interior, and that one has that color interior. But one car, or one watch, or one phone, or one appliance, one air conditioner, one refrigerator has a warranty. It's guaranteed. Anything happens to this phone, you bring it back. If you throw it on the ground, you drop it yourself, we'll replace your screen immediately. Anything, any bug, any shortcoming, you bring it back, and it's just like that. You crash your car, we'll give you a new one, and your car will be fixed within a week. There's insurance, total insurance, full protection plan, full warranty, full guarantee. Which of the 2 products would you pick up? Regardless of the color, regardless of the size, regardless of, I want this one, but this one has a full paid warranty on it for a year, or a lifetime warranty. Anything happens, you send it back to the warehouse and they'll fix it for you. Which one would you pick up? It's not an issue of thinking. It's a no-brainer, as we would say. You would take the one that is assured, insured. You would take the one that has the full warranty, the full guarantee. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ in this quote have said to the companions, is that this is not something which will lead to paradise. This is something which will help your scale of good deeds. But this is something in which, ultimately, he says, I guarantee for you paradise. So without a doubt, when the companions, when they heard these words, it had an effect and an impact on them. The only thing we have to do to go to Jannah is these 6 things. And this was the beautiful eloquence of the Messenger of Allah. He could have told the companions, tell the truth and don't say lies. He could have told the companions, stay away from zina. He could have told the companions, don't beat and hit and accuse and do these things. But he wanted to inspire them and incite them and encourage them. Give me 6 and I'll give you 1. Promise me 6 things and I'll promise for you 1 thing which is better than all of those 6 pieces of sacrifice and struggle from you. And the first of them, and the most important of them, is ussuku idha hadathtum. Whenever you open your mouth, anything that you have to say, it should be factual. And it should be truthful, and it should be real. Never ever lie, even when joking. Never lie when joking. Be honest and be serious. And that there is a subtle harm of lying even when you play around. And even when you joke. And in our society, the United States, our children, they're raised upon lies from day one. We tell them about Santa Claus. We tell them about the Easter Bunny. And we tell them about this holiday. And this person is going to get you if you don't listen. And this is going to happen to you. And we tell them about the tooth fairy. And the stork. A bird brought you in a sack. And that's how you were born. It's just a white lie. It's just a joke. What's the big deal? The children, they know there's no such thing as Santa Claus. Our house doesn't have a chimney. Santa Claus is not going to come down the chimney. You know who brought you the gifts. What's the big deal? But when the child grows up, and the child is fed and cultivated with 1,000 lies, small lies, white lies, there's a very, very big possibility that when the child becomes a young adult and a full-bred adult, they will lose trust, they will lose respect, and they'll lose confidence in your early values. And that's because, well, maybe the religion that my parents told me about was a white lie. And maybe this was actually a white lie. And maybe I really don't have to do this. And maybe, and perhaps they were joking. Perhaps they were trying to scare me. Perhaps they were trying to get me to do the right thing. So when you feed someone lies, no matter how small or minute they are, it leads to a large pile and lump of lies. And that strips the child from confidence. And this is one of the reasons why so many people say that they have a religion, but they don't follow the religion. They say that they practice a religion, but in actuality it's nothing more than a name. And that's because they were fed lies. Their tongue was full of lies, and they lost confidence in their religion, the religion of their parents. Think about this now, before you were a Muslim. Think about this. Did you really believe in your religion before you were a Muslim? Before you took your shahada? Think about that. Did you really believe this about this one, and this is the Son of God? Did you really believe that? Did you really believe everything that your parents told you? No, you didn't. And that's because they lied to you about so many other things. And the opposite is the opposite. With regards to someone who never ever tells a lie, even when joking. And there's a story mentioned from ancient China. There were 2 friends. They were comrades. They grew up together. They trained together. They studied together. They were cultivated together. And then later on, they split ways. They separated. They were no longer friends. He had an empire, and he had an empire. He had a piece of China, and he had a piece of China. And obviously, it was nothing but a matter of time before they clashed. And they met in warfare. They met in battle. So one of those great generals, those great commanders, he became awfully sick. He became extremely sick, detrimentally ill on his deathbed. And of course the army was in peril. What shall we do? Our commander, our general, he's about to die, and we haven't fought on the battlefield yet. So upon hearing this, his friend, his former friend, his ex-colleague, who was his enemy at the time, heard that he was ill and heard that he was sick. So he took his top position, and he sent his top position with medicine and with foods that, by the permission of Allah, would cure his sick enemy, his rival. So when the physician reached the enemy's camp, they told him who it was, they told him where he came from, and of course they had nothing but suspicion. He said, this is a trick, this is a ruse. He's trying to finish him off on his deathbed and give him poison and feed him poison. And the sick general, he said, let the physician into my tent. And whatever bags or carts that he has of food and medicine, not only do you bring it in, but I will eat it. And that's because even though he's my enemy, when he was younger, when we grew up, he never ever told a lie. So if he tells me that it's medicine, if he tells me that it's an antidote, if he tells me that it's going to be a cure, I'm going to take his statement even though we're at warfare. Think about this. Would you trust your enemy so much? Would you trust someone that's trying to take your life to that extent? Do you even trust your own Muslim brother that much? Do you trust your own family that much? Do you trust your son that much? You say you leave him the family business, but how many other estates and houses and properties and how much other savings you don't give to your son because you really don't trust him 100%. You really don't tell your wife everything. Your wife doesn't tell you everything because there's a lack of trust there, even though you have general trust. So this man, he took the medicine and the food from his enemy. And the only reason why he did that is because it was impossible for him to lie. And that is because I don't know him to be a liar. He's never lied to me. Not joking, not laughing, when we were friends, when we studied together. So why would he choose later on to be a horrible, terrible liar and do such a shameful and dishonorable thing? So truthfulness has an impact. And lying has a terrible impact as well. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ussuqu idha haddathtum." Whenever you speak, be truthful. Don't joke and tell a lie. Don't brag or bluff or say things that aren't true. Whenever your mouth is open, it should be nothing but sidq exiting therefrom. And then the Prophet ﷺ says, وَأَوْفُوا إِذَا وَعْدْتُمْ. And whenever you make a promise, keep your promise. Whenever you give your word, keep your word. How can this be done? Are we all human beings? Don't things pop up? Don't things happen? Don't things come up? Don't you oversleep? Don't you forget? So on and so forth. This is an indicator to the Quranic verse, وَحْفَظُوا إِيمَانَكُمْ, and protect your oaths. In other words, don't give your word but so often. Don't say wallahi but so often. And that is because when you say it, you're now required to keep it. I'll be there at 1 p.m. Not 2 p.m., not 3 p.m., not tomorrow. I'll be there at 1 p.m. Think about the virtue of a reliable person. Just think about it now. A reliable brother. He tells you he's going to meet you there, you know he's going to be there. Inshallah ta'ala. Versus someone who's totally unreliable. Totally unreliable. Always late. Always forgetting. Always lying. Always covering up. Oh, I forgot. Oh. Think of the two. Which one has a greater status in your heart? Someone that you can depend upon. And this is from the virtue of keeping your promise. And this is also from the virtue of not making too many promises. And it's a capital mistake of any leader. It's promising abundantly. And this is one of the worst vices of politics and of democracy. It's people that run for office and they make promises. We will raise this. We will remove this. We will give this. We will rectify this. We will clean this up. We will do this. And 99% of those promises are nothing more to get votes. And the moment a person is put in state, put in office, oh, well, I will talk to my cabinet. I will speak to my advisors. I will listen to what they have to say, and we will see what we'll do for the state. But before he was voted in, it was a promise. So the Muslim is not to be like this, and the Muslim is not to do this. Number 3, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, وَأَدُّوا إِذَا تُمِنْتُمْ. And when you're given an amana, keep that amana. How many times have you betrayed an amana? A brother, he comes to me and says, listen, I'm going to tell you about something, but just keep it between me and you, right? He told me not to say anything. And he said, okay, sure, I'll keep it between me and you. You share the sin of breaking the amana. And it is your job, and it is your duty to say, wait a second. It's a secret that you're about to tell me that someone else told you to keep? No, thank you. Jazakallah khair. No. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. I'm not going to help you break your amana. I'm not going to lend my ear to you breaking your trust. And most important, if you tell someone else's secret, then what will you do about mine? If you give a gift away to someone else, I got this as a gift, but it doesn't work. Here, you can have it. In most cases, the brother will what? He'll give away your gift as well. So breaking the amana does nothing more but breed more breaking of the amana. Breaking of the amana. When that tremendous city, that fortress, when it was conquered through over a month of siege, and the Muslim conqueror, he sat upon the throne, and he raised the flags of Islam. He was one of the great grand viziers. He came into the company of the Sultan, and he brought him a box of gold. And he said, my Sultan, obviously he's a Muslim and he was a Christian. He got on his knees and he opened up the box of gold. And he says, please take these gold coins as a means of respect, as a token of friendship and as a token of appreciation. And in other words, don't kill me. I can help you with governing this state and governing this city that you've just conquered. So the Sultan, the Muslim leader, he said, wait a second. He said, you had a box of gold when your emperor was taking rings and earrings and everything, gold crucifixes, and melting them down to make gold coins to pay the mercenaries to defend the city. You had a chest full of gold that you didn't give your emperor, and you expect me to take it? You expect me to accept your gift? And obviously he commanded for that man to be executed. Why did he take his life? Why didn't he accept the chest of gold? Was that man not useful to the state? Could he not help the Muslims rebuild the land in which they just conquered? He killed them for one reason and one reason only. Is that if you betray your emperor, and you take and you hold gold from your emperor, what will you do to me? You have no values. This is a character flaw. It's not a mistake. This is a flaw of your character, and there's no use that you can be to me. So the Prophet says, وَأَدُّوا إِذَا تُمِنْتُمْ. Keep your trust. Then the Messenger of Allah he says, وَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَكُمْ. And your private parts, they should be protected with one or two interpretations, if not both. And the first meaning, and the first interpretation is not to fall into illicit sexual behavior. Whatever that illicit sexual behavior may be, of zina, of homosexuality, of lesbianism, anything which is a harm or dislike, you to protect yourself from that. And secondly is to physically cover your private area, i.e., don't go outside wearing tight clothes. Don't go outside wearing sheer clothes. Don't go outside flaunting and displaying your private area, which will lead to you actually falling into the actual sin. So you allow your sister, or your daughter, or your wife, or your husband to leave the house with those shameful clothes, the shameless clothes, and you say nothing. You turn a blind eye while she's young. Well, it's the style today. Well, what am I supposed to do? I don't want to be too harsh. I don't want to be too strict. I don't want to shelter my children too much, because that'll lead to them doing the same thing. The excuses that the weakness brings about, instead of you putting your foot there saying you can't dress like that. As a Muslim, first and foremost. As my daughter or my son, secondly. And thirdly, as a human being. That's unhealthy to dress like that. It's not normal to dress like that, to walk down the street in your private parts or in plain public view for everyone. Something is wrong with your mindset for you to dress like that. And the Prophet ﷺ spoke about this phenomenon over 1,000 years ago. About those women, he said that they're clothed, but at the same time naked. They're wearing fabric, but at the same time the fabric is of no use and of no benefit. So az-zina and uncovering yourself and dressing improperly is something that the Prophet ﷺ told the companions to avoid. And if they could avoid that, they would have paradise promised for them. And then he said, وَغُضُّوا أَبْصَارَكُمْ. Lower your gaze. Don't look at everything, because the eyes are the doorway to the soul. How long does an image stay in your mind? You'll be shocked if you read how long it stays in your mind. Read what the specialists say about one picture, how long it stays in your mind and your subconscious, let alone a magazine. 5 minutes, let alone 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, in which you can't get it out of your head. And that is why people that give warning, explicit material, don't look at this. Viewer discretion is advised. And that's because once you see something, you can't unravel your brain. You can't unravel it. You can't do away with what you saw, what you encountered with your eyesight. So the smartest thing to do is to turn away. The smartest thing to do is to limit that which you look towards. And this includes the opposite sex, this includes the same sex, and this includes look at anything else which is unbefitting for a Muslim to look at. Excessive violence, and the list goes on. Last but not least, the hadith says, وَكُفُّوا أَيْدِيَكُمْ. And hold your hands back. Don't hit people unjustly. Don't strike people unjustly. Don't commit acts of violence to yourself or to others unjustly. Be the strong one. And the strong one is he who controls his fists. The strong one is the one who has control over his power and his might and his rage. And he only lets it loose, he only lets it go when it's the proper time. As for the weak man, the weak woman, then they hit people that are smaller than them, that are lesser than them. They hit someone that they know won't hit them back, because they're weak and they're afraid and they're scared and they're cowardly. And Muslim is never ever supposed to be a slave of his anger. Control your hands. When was the last time you controlled your hands? How many times have you beat your wife up, abused your wife, blooded her lip, blackened her eye, knocked out her tooth, loosened her jaw, and then you say, I love you, honey, forgive me. I love you. You beat your wife up to a pulp. How can you possibly love a person you hit her like that? How can you hit a Muslim who makes sujood They put their head on the ground and say, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, and you strike that place. And the angels in the hereafter, they know that they will recognize the Muslims because of where they made sujood. And the fire will not burn the places of sujood. But you yourself, that's not good enough. The hellfire not eating that part of the face is not good enough for me. The angels recognizing them, that's not good enough for me. I have to take my fist and hit you in that place that recites the Quran. Hit you in that place that puts his head or his forehead upon the ground. So beating people, hitting people, striking people, illegally, unjustly, it is against Islam, it is against the Sunnah, and know for sure if you do that, it's a big possibility that you won't go to paradise. And you stifling and suppressing your ego, and holding back your hands, and you being the scared one at the moment, may be a cause for you to go to paradise. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla by His beautiful names and perfect attributes to allow us to understand this hadith, and to implement this hadith, and to practice this hadith, to practice this hadith and to propagate it, to pass it on to others. And fulfilling these 6 things, write them down, put them on your phone, put them on your calendar, put them on your refrigerator. Every day, ask yourself, am I fulfilling these 6 points? Or am I infringing and violating these 6 points? We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla for true guidance and firmness thereupon. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla for forgiveness and mercy. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to remove all suffering and evil from the Muslims wherever they may be. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to cure the sick Muslims and the hatred. That's Allah Azza wa Jalla to have mercy upon the deceased Muslims and those who have lost their lives because of this pandemic and for any other reason. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.